Welcome to Highland's Landing Boats Safely in Cradles training video. This is a great video for all Highland members to watch to be aware of what this crew is involved in. And for the topics, we're going to cover safety hazards. We'll also look at owner responsibilities and the crew positions and what they're responsible for. Staying safe and having no injuries is our main goal during haulout. There are several things you want to be aware of. The major one is not being caught in an area between where the boat is coming down and the cradle. So that's no hands on top of pads, being careful that you never have anything, any parts, feet, or hands underneath the keel or the rudder if it's going to touch the cradle. Tripping hazards are all around us, so be aware of those. Hooks can come loose from the tag lines and swing freely, so watch for that. And then as the crane is lifting the slings, there are 4 lines on the hooks. There's the slings. These can also be a hazard, and you need to be careful you don't get caught up in those. Rarely, as we're moving slings down, if there's something loose on their deck, it could be caught by the sling and fall. So you want to be watching as those are coming down. A couple of rare things are cradle failure, where if a boat comes down and something breaks on the cradle, we may need to take it up quite quickly. And then the final one is making sure you're never in a position where the boat is directly over top of you. And that's in case a sling breaks or the hydraulics on the crane go and the boat comes down quickly. Everyone on the crew has the ability to stop the crane at any moment by yelling stop. You should do that if anything looks unsafe around you, or you're in an unsafe position or don't understand what you should be doing next. If you're on the crew and you hear somebody yell stop, repeat that stop out loud. That makes sure that the captain and the crane signaler hear the command and stop the crane movement. As owners, we're responsible for making sure our cradle's in safe working condition. Check out our new video on cradle preparation for all the details. But in general, we want to make sure the markings are painted, there's no clutter around the cradle during haul out, pads are lowered, and pads are horizontal and snug. When you head over to your cradle after it's come out of the water, make sure you introduce yourself to the crew captain and give any special instructions, and then confirm you're good with the position once the boat's landed. There are lots of people on the crew, and the crew captain is responsible for the safe landing of the boat, communication with the signaler, and the owner and the crew. Tagline, there's 2 tagline people who position the boat in the air, getting it along the center line of the cradle. They're always working from the same side of the boat. And once the boat is landed, they'll remove taglines and help out with pads or hooks if needed. The stern alignment position is critical for getting the boat along the center line of the cradle. They'll communicate with the captain on where the boat needs to go to be on the center line, and they'll also call the level of the boat and which sides of the pads should come up first if needed. The keel alignment is about getting the cradle lines and keel markings as close to matching as needed to satisfy the owner. Pad crews, generally 4 people, they'll have their hands on the boat as the boat is coming down. Once the boat has landed on its keel, they'll wait for the call to raise the pads, and then they'll raise the pads. Sometimes to level the boat, we'll raise the pads on one side first and then the other. They'll remove the cinch lines as the slings are coming down and break the slings, pass them under the boat if needed, and reconnect them. Hook control goes into operation once the slings start moving down. Up until then, you can help align the boat. Then, as the slings start coming down, you'll grab the hook line, keeping the hook away from the boats, and then walking the hooks around to the crane side of the boat so they can be reconnected if they've been disconnected, and making sure everything moves into the air safely, hanging onto that hook line up until the hooks are well above the boat level. The other 2 positions are arrow person. This person goes to the next cradle with the arrow at the bow so that the crane operator can see it and the crew knows where to go next. And then the ladder safety person will hold the ladder for the tagline people to remove taglines once the boat is safely in the cradle. 3 changes we're making for safety this year. We'll have a blue hat safety officer dedicated to the crew, identifying issues and providing immediate feedback to the captains. Taglines, we're going to wait till the taglines are closer to the boat before tagline holders will take hold of them. And finally, we're using a Amherst crane signaler who will be on radio to signal the crane. So let's have a look at all of this in action. Here are the main crew positions to start, and you'll see the pad and hook team come in a minute. So as the boat comes down, you'll notice here we start to check the pads, and this pad tips up really easily. This creates a safety issue for our team because we have to use our hands to to level the pads as the boat comes down. So there's a couple of pads there that aren't set up properly. As the boat is coming in, you'll notice at the back our tagline person is going to get on the wrong side of the boat here. So we need both tagline people on the same side so that we can control the front and the back. And just at the back there, you'll see the tagline person at the rear is off the center line and has to come back to center the boat. So make sure as a tagline person, you're on the same side of the boat. Our rudder person now is trying to get the boat on the center line. Everyone's putting hands on the boat. This is the safest position to be in. And we've got our keel alignment person just aligning the boat. You can move a boat quite a bit with just pressure. So captain's calling out whether we need the boat to go left or right or back or forward. And the signaler is signaling to lower the boat. So at this point, we want to have our hands away from pads. Now you'll notice on this, the boat has hit the keel. At the bow on the left-hand side in this image, the pad was already up and it's too tight. So we've got to actually lower that pad, costing us time. And it's also a safety issue because if the pads are lowered, we can't catch our hands in there. So this boat isn't really going to show the whole process because the pads were too high on this cradle, which means that as the keel touched down, the pads are already tight. This is unusual. We really want the pads down, and then once the keel is set, we will raise the pads. So you can't see the pad people raising the pads, but that'd normally be happening now. Once the pads are all raised, the crane signaler will take the slings down. The hook people will then make sure the hooks are kept away from the boat. And at the back of the boat on this one, we're going to break the sling, but we're separating cinch lines. You can see that on the right-hand side. We're having a little trouble there, but we'll have the sling broken at the back. You can see in the right side of the picture, pass to the pad person on the other side of the boat, who will bring it around to the crane side so that we can hook it back up. One note for this crew is sometimes a boat will come down and the slings are in position so that the pads can't be raised. We'll get the keel set in that position, take the slings down a bit, and then we can slide the slings past the pads and raise the pads. We'll need more hands on the boat just to keep it stable, but that's something we have to deal with from time to time. So as the crew brings the slings around to reconnect, they just make sure that we haven't introduced a twist in it and hook it back on. And at this point, we got to be really careful that nobody's caught up in the slings, that the hook control people are keeping control of those hooks till they're well above the boat and the slings are in the air. And then the ladder control person is going to make sure they're holding the ladder safely so that we can remove the taglines. Just a couple of final reminders. Make sure you're checked in and ready for the meeting at 15 minutes before your shift starts. That meeting will happen at the workshop. If you have any questions, make sure you ask your captain and yell stop if anything looks unsafe. Remember, slow is safe and safe is fast. Let's have a great haul out.